Good evening, Drew.
All right, so before we dive into
Okay.
our topics tonight, a couple quick little things. The
Okay.
first one is I apologize in advance for the editing you're going to have to do for me
Uh-oh.
because I'm on like the tail end of a really bad cold.
Okay. I'm very sorry
You
to
can
hear
you
that.
can
Yeah.
you can probably hear it in my voice a little bit. I'm still a little congested. It's fine. Like everything's coming out of me now. So probably gonna be a lot of sniffles. Probably gonna be some coughs. I have a cough button here. I will attempt to hit it to like spare you having to like cut everything out.
That's all right. Oh.
And the second thing is,
Mhm.
we've been just because of circumstances like
Mhm.
holidays and things like that. We've been off our game a little bit in terms of recording.
Mhm.
I gotta say, I'm a little impressed with the number of people who actively reached out to ask where our podcast episode was. That's encouraging.
Oh, how sweet
Um,
of those people. Thank you
and
so
I would
much,
just
people.
and I would just remind them that this isn't for them. So it's okay,
Yeah.
But
Oh,
we appreciate you listening anyway.
we
How are
do.
you?
I'm good. I'm good.
How was
Yeah.
your Thanksgiving?
It was fine. It was
In
fine.
the no mashed potatoes and gravy house.
I mean, I had a very nice sweet potato and a steak. So there we go.
Oh, that's right. You guys do steaks.
No, that's not. It's not my choice. It's not my choice. We go to my sister-in-law's for Thanksgiving, and
God, I forgot all about the steaks.
yeah, we did steaks again.
Oh, obviously everybody loved it.
It's okay. It's okay. It was perfectly cromulent.
Yeah. Yeah, Mandy did us proper here.
Nice.
We had
Nice.
her family over, and I mean, she just does an incredible job. I mean, I don't give her near enough credit for all the work that goes into something like that. But she did a great job.
Excellent. Excellent.
All right. Boy. I've got stuff. I've got stuff.
I cannot
but
wait. I cannot wait.
but I want to make this like a Drew sandwich. So I shuffled the doc
Okay.
around a little bit.
Okay.
Man, I'm not looking forward to this first one though.
Okay. All right. All right. Drew, have you watched Scott Pilgrim Takes Off on Netflix?
I tried.
Okay. How did you not get through it?
I got through the first two episodes.
Okay, you have to. You have to keep going. You have to keep going.
I know. We should stop and explain that there is a little bit of big internet mad about this show.
Yes.
For reasons I don't agree. Like no. I'm not in that crowd. I'm just not enjoying it.
So obviously, there is established Scott Pilgrim stories, right? There are the graphic novels, there are the movies.
Also a really good video game.
Okay, yeah, I haven't played the video game, but
it's really good.
That's the beat 'em up, right? The side-scrolling beat 'em up.
Yeah, you can't buy anymore.
Okay. When they announced they were doing a anime of Scott Pilgrim with the original cast as the voice actors, I think everybody who enjoyed Scott Pilgrim was going to be like, oh, they're going to tell like the story again, but maybe they'll go a little bit farther than the movie did, explore more of the graphic novels. And they do not do that.
That is accurate.
They tell a completely different story. Now, Drew, I will have to say that if you get to like episode 4, the original story kind of makes a bizarre appearance.
Okay. But let's back up though, because I don't know how many people in our audience are familiar with Scott Pilgrim. I mean, you and I have talked about it. It's some of my favorite graphic novels. It's a very endearing story.
Yes.
But I think we need to stop and say that like there are two lenses that people view Scott Pilgrim through.
Yes.
The first is like, oh, people who have like main character syndrome are like, look at this book about this kid that, goes through shitty dating and dates a girl way out of his league and likes video games. Like, I can relate. But like Scott's kind of a douche.
Yes. That's the surprise point of the series is Scott Pilgrim is a horrible person.
Yeah, Scott Pilgrim is not a good guy. And like part of him realizing he's not a good guy is like one of the main themes of the story that like, there's a meme on the internet. Hey, like, oh, hey, cool robot. I don't know if you're familiar with that meme. But it's very apt here. But
And like the movie really only covers like the first part of the graphic novel before Scott realizes he's a jerk.
Right.
And it just tells the story of Scott fighting Ramona's 7 evil exes.
Right. Which some people seem to think is the main plot of that story, which
Mm.
it's the main quest of the
Yeah.
story.
Yeah, I love the movie. I love the movie. It's a great movie. I love the graphic novels more. Like they're
100% with you.
but
100% with
Scott
you.
Pilgrim Takes Off. You think you're watching the first episode and you think, "Oh, they're going to tell that story again." And then they're like, "Yoink."
Yeah, so
Yes.
here's what happened to me, right?
Mhm.
Like I knew the day it was going to launch.
Mhm.
And the day before it launched, like I think I was like laying in bed, kind of like trying to wake up for the day. And I saw that there were posts about the first episode. And I purposely did not read any of them. I didn't want to know because like, every time there's a new show or a new episode of something, like everybody, it's like a race to the bottom about who can write the hottest take of this thing 1st. Like
Mhm.
that's just the world we live in. So I immediately, like if there's a show I want to watch or a game I want to play, I will usually just kind of shut it off. Like I will not read anything about it. I will go do it. So I sat down and I watched the first episode of Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. And again, if you've never read the comic, if you've never watched the main movie, this does deviate from that material. Now, that alone would be enough to put me off my gourd because I immediately fell in love with the animation style. It's like very, very true to like the original character's art style. Very endearing, very cute. But the plot takes a twist.
It does.
And I was like,
it takes several more if you keep watching.
Okay, I don't know if I can. I don't know how many twists I can take in something.
Well, it's one thing you have to remember about Scott Pilgrim. For those of you watching this for the first time or reading, it kind of takes place in a world where like video game rules apply.
Right.
And no one acknowledges it. It's just there.
Yeah.
Right. So, and it continues to do that as there's a whole nother plot. Like, yeah, it gets wild. It gets wild, Drew. It gets wild.
Okay, I will probably like I watched the first episode and I'm like, okay, I want to see where this goes. And maybe it's just not moving fast enough for me. It's just like I got through the second episode and I'm like, I don't know, man. Like I see what they're trying to do and like I'm not mad at them for it. I just don't think it's for me.
Yeah. It's weird because I think everybody so expected like just like a more in-depth movie, like more true to the graphic novels, more exploring the Scott Pilgrim is a piece of shit side, like giving more attention to like Ramona's character and fleshing her out and stuff like that. But it doesn't do that. It's like,
nope.
it makes you think it's going to do that. And then it's then it doesn't do that, and then something else happens.
And the internet's very mad about it. But Brian Lee O'Malley, the original creator of Scott Pilgrim, basically came out and said, "Look, I'm done telling that story.
Exactly.
Like, that part of my life is over. I don't want to keep reliving it. I want to do something different."
Yeah, like
and
it was
expecting for that.
Yeah, like when they approached him, he basically said like, "Yeah, I'll do it, but I get to tell a new story."
Right. Yep. I don't know.
And the themes of the graphic novel do shine through. Like in the end of the first episode, the titular Scott Pilgrim, I guess, takes off.
Yep.
Literally
he does.
He leaves. He does come back later, and the he has a jerk aspects definitely shine very through there. And they do that in a very interesting way. Yeah, it's I enjoyed it. Is it as good as the movie? No. Is it as good as the graphic novels? Absolutely not.
So so if you were going to rank the Scott Pilgrim various forms of media consumption, you're going to put comics first, movie second, series third.
Yes.
The
Absolutely.
movie I could sort of take or leave because it left out so many chunks of the novel. I was immediately turned off, or the graphic
Yeah.
novels. I was very turned off to it. But
Yeah.
it is endearing. Like I like the
Yeah.
cast. I
Yeah.
thought it was really well cast. I like the characters.
It's good for what
Um,
it is. Yeah,
yeah,
it
yeah,
tells
yeah,
a
yeah.
it tells a tight story. It's it does ignore the theme of the graphic novel, like the novels,
Yep.
especially like the back half. But it's fine. It tells a good story. It's cute. Got a good soundtrack. It's got good
Great
special effects.
soundtrack.
Good special effects. The cast is just absolutely fantastic.
Yes.
A lot of actors and actresses before they were really popular, and the fact they got all that whole
Yeah.
cast to do the voice
I like
for
that
this
a lot.
was just phenomenal. Because like when I reread the graphic novels now, like those actors
hear
and
it.
actresses that's their voices
Yeah,
in my
Michael
head.
Cera will always be Scott Pilgrim. Like
Yes.
I will always, like every time I go
Um,
back and reread it, you're 100% right. That
yeah.
is the voice I read it in.
Mm-hmm. So, but it's
Is it over? Like, have they shown all the episodes?
yeah, it's all out. It's done. It's done.
It's only like what, 6 episodes?
Yeah, I watched it
Okay.
in like a day and a half.
Okay.
Yeah,
They released it all at once, right?
they did. They did.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought because I remember seeing it all.
Yeah. Yeah. I would go ahead, I would go back and just keep watching, like, Kim and Knives characters have interesting developments, and
Yeah, they didn't really explore that very much.
and yeah, I mean, it focuses on Ramona. Like that's what it does.
Yep.
She's the main character.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Drew. I'm very excited about this next topic. I want you to tell me a story, Drew. So it's Call of Duty season,
It is Call of Duty season.
and I imagine you've been playing lots of Call of Duty.
I have not.
Oh, oh, you have not.
I have
What
not.
what
because
happened, Drew?
Maybe you're not. Maybe you don't understand what that sentence means.
Maybe I was asking you a leading question.
All right. So yes, the last time we recorded, it was just coming up on Call of Duty season. This is a yearly thing for me. I'm a Call of Duty fan. Take that for what it's worth. But I was banned in Call of Duty.
Oh no!
Yeah.
What happened?
Okay. So this takes a little bit of explaining. So
Okay.
when I say banned,
Mhm.
I was not 100% banned from the game. In fact,
Okay.
I almost would have preferred if that's what had happened. So let
Okay.
me try to explain the order of events here. So before we
Mhm.
dive into this, if you're not a video game person or you don't play video games online, what you have to understand is the internet is an incredibly bad place to exist. Like it's just not the internet's not a good place anymore. I don't know if it was ever good. Maybe when it was like young and pure and full of hope and dreams. Like no, the internet's a bad place. And like every piece of media, every piece of everything is ruined on the internet. The internet is terrible. I hate it. I don't like it here anymore. I just don't like it.
Okay.
So video games on the internet are terrible, right? They're terrible for a lot of reasons. Number one, like every video game is toxic, right? People get, into games and they'll get on microphones or they'll get in text chat. They'll type the most nasty, raunchy, stupid shit. Talk and there's a point where like shit talking your opponents becomes just a little too much, or beating up on your teammates for not playing very well, being misogynistic, being racist, being, take your pick, right? Like it's just awful. People are awful.
People are awful.
And then there's other ways to be like really toxic in video games, and that is to cheat, right? Like there are people who will use external devices or network manipulation or cheating programs to help them play the game better, and it ruins it for everybody else. So of course, and again, I'm not just talking about Call of Duty here, right? Like if you're playing any video game on the internet, companies spend lots of money trying to make sure that, there is fair play, that people can play and not feel harassed, and that people are protected from like hate speech. And, they want to have a welcoming community because, it turns out that the more people play your game, the more money you make, and the longer you can keep them playing, the more money you can make through DLC and skins and add-ons and V-Bucks and, whatever the fuck, Robux. I don't take your pick, right? Like it doesn't matter. Like that is why it is so important for these video game companies to like make it so that their communities are safe and that they do these things. And there are various levels of enforcement that these video game companies take to keep their games safe. So for instance, like if you are playing a live service game or an online game, and again, I don't care if it's Call of Duty, Diablo, Fortnite, take your pick. Uh, there are community guidelines in place, and there are end user license agreements that nobody ever reads that basically say, like, look, you want to play our game, here are the rules, here's what we expect of you. And in fact, like Call of Duty even goes a little bit step further. Like when you install the game, there's like a code of conduct that you have to read and agree to. Like in addition to all the licensing and all the other shit.
Okay.
It's basically like, hey, you're going to play fair. You're not going to be a shithead. You're not going to be racist. You're not going to be like a total douche to everybody. Like, sign this, or, that's what it's going to be. And, for their part, like the online communities that play the game will sort of police themselves, right? So like if you're playing an online game, a lot of times if you end up in a lobby or in a match with somebody who is cheating or somebody who's being a shithead or whatever, there are mechanisms for you in game to basically report that player to say, this person is cheating, or this person is being racist, or this person is like, just shouting horrible things into their microphone or playing music over everybody, or, just whatever. But they also do like passive monitoring on the back end where, like, a lot of these games ship with anti-cheat software that basically detects other programs that are running on your computer. And it's like, is this person cheating? Are they using network manipulation to, give them an unfair advantage? Like there's all sorts of like monitoring that goes on like the video game side of things too. And all of these things sort of come together to lead to different enforcement policies. Like, with Call of Duty specifically, and I think there's other games that do this, like if you're constantly toxic in voice chat, they'll just turn off your voice chat. Like they'll auto mute you. Like you can talk,
okay.
you can just talk forever and no one's ever going to hear you. Like
interesting.
Okay. You're in like a timeout. Like you can't talk, right? You just can't be on voice chat. If you're spamming text chat, I think they can like block you from that or censor everything you say. If you're reported for cheating for too many times, they will just basically, they do some really clever stuff where like in their online, games, they will basically make all the other players but you invisible. So like on your screen, you can't see anybody. And like you're just getting shot and you don't know from where, right? Like they will fuck with you. It's really clever. It's really clever, and it's a little bit funny. And again, Call of Duty is just one example. Diablo, Battlefield.
Yeah, everyone does it, yeah.
Everybody has something. But, the highest level of enforcement that can shake out for something like that is you can be completely banned from the service. In other words, they can take your account, because what you have to understand is that whether you're playing this game on PlayStation, Xbox, PC, whatever, you have a singular user account. It tracks your progression. It tracks your statistics. It tracks, your actions and everything. And like when you buy the game, it is tied to that account. So you spend your $70, you get your Shooty Man game, you sign in, and then like your identity that you set up when you set up that game is like how everything is tracked. So if you continue to violate these rules, you will end up at a place where you are banned. Like you gave us $70. We allowed you to play the game. Clearly you can't be a decent human for any of these number of reasons that I just described. You don't get to play the game anymore. Like you can't log in. Like you're done. And a lot of times those decisions are final. Like there's nothing you can do about it. Like it's clearly your own design. Like there are extenuating circumstances that I'll get to in a minute. But like you're done. That's it. You cannot sign in anymore. But there's this weird gray area where you're not whitelisted, right? Like you're not on the good list. You're not completely banned from the game. You're in sort of a purgatory state. And that's called a shadow ban.
Okay.
And this is what happened to me.
Oh, no.
Okay. So here's what was happening to me. When you want to play Call of Duty, you launch the game and you say, I want to play this particular game mode. And what that does is there are other people all over the world who are probably clicking that button the same time as you. And what the game attempts to do is it goes through a process called matchmaking, where it finds people with similar network latencies, similar skill levels, similar win-loss ratios, tries to like figure out like, okay, this person's waiting, but like, this person over here, they have closer latency to each other, so it'll be more fair of a match. It'll match everybody together. And when you hit a critical mass of players, the game can start. However, if you are suspected of being a shithead, or you are suspected of being a cheater, the game will sort of isolate you with other people who are under suspicion or
other shitheads.
other potential shitheads, right?
Okay.
And that does a couple things. Number one, that makes your player pool much, much smaller, which means instead of getting a match like lickety split, might take you a few minutes, might take you 10 minutes, might take you 15 minutes, because like that player pool is just a small percentage of the overall player pool.
Okay.
Now, what I was noticing is, and I didn't think anything of it at first, where I was like launching the game. I was attempting to get into a game, whether it was like cooperative or, the titular, like run around maps and shoot other players and play game modes and everything. It was just taking me a long time to find a game. And, look, it was like the first week of launch. I didn't think anything of it. I just thought, game's having a hard time. But it wasn't getting any better. So I started doing some investigating, like why are some of the causes of this? And I kept seeing that one of the potential reasons that like this could happen is that you could be shadow banned. And shadow banned is that purgatory state where, like, for whatever reason, the game thinks, you know what, he might be cheating, but we need a human to like look into this and figure out if they're really cheating or really being shitheads or whatnot. So Activision, who is the publisher of Call of Duty, has a website, and you can go there and you can log in and you can click a button that says, appeal a ban. Now, Here's the thing. I've never been banned in an online video game. I've never, ever been banned. I have never, ever cheated in a video game, ever, in my entire life. And that's not necessarily true, because if you've ever listened to this podcast, there was the Grand Theft Auto incident.
Grand Theft Auto, yeah.
Yeah, but like I wasn't the one cheating. I was just like, I was just receiving stolen property. Okay, it's like it's extenuating circumstances. All right. Anyway, I don't cheat. I've never paid for cheating programs. I've never done any of that shit. However, you can go to this website and you can basically log in and you can say appeal a ban. Now, at that point, I had no idea that I was banned or not. But what I was told from online communities that if you go to that website, even if you're not banned and you go through the process of appealing a ban, this website will basically tell you your status. In other words, if you're not banned and you go there and you say appeal a ban, it's just going to come back with a green check mark and say there's no ban for you to appeal. Here's all the games you can play. You're fine. If you were 100% like hard banned from the game, like you can't log in and play anymore, you would basically get a giant red X, and you'd be given the opportunity to appeal. Now, side tangent, there is only one current reason that you could appeal a ban. Like bans are usually like final, like you're done. Like go spend $70, buy the game again, and create a new account, start over. Like you're just done. Like that's it. But there is an extenuating circumstance to where, like, if your account was compromised and somebody fucked around on your account, like you could appeal and say, like, look, it wasn't me. I'm sure they have an internal investigation to figure out, like, were they logging in from somewhere that isn't me and playing the game? Like there is a like reason that bans can be overturned, but like if you were straight up cheating and you try to convince them that you weren't, like, no, you're not getting your account back.
Okay.
But I went to that website, I put in my information, and it came back and it said under review.
Oh, okay. So that told you your suspicions were correct.
Correct. So that confirmed my suspicions that something's going on. This certainly explains why I'm seeing, and there were other little tells too. Like I kept getting the same people in my matches, which is like theoretically impossible because they like break you up every game. Unless you're playing with people in like a party, you are not going to see the same people every game.
Okay.
But I kept seeing the same people every game, and I'm like, this is fucking weird. So, for whatever reason, the game thought that I was doing something wrong, and it had flagged me. Now, it flagged me the week before Thanksgiving. That's when I first confirmed these suspicions. In fact, it was shortly after we had recorded right before Thanksgiving that I discovered this. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, Drew, what do you do in that situation?
I'm actually curious what you think you did to cause the ban.
So I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
And I still don't have an idea. And like that's like my main frustration with this whole scenario. Like if they had come to me and said, "You're banned, and here's why," I'd be pissed. if they could give me a reason.
Right.
But all I know is at some point, my player account went under review. I didn't receive an email. I didn't get an in-game notification. Like, it was just, I was noticing something weird, and it was through my own investigation that I figured out that this was going on. And like, there's no button to click that says like open ticket or like request like review. Like, my account was under review. So I was in some mysterious queue where somebody was looking at my player activity or my voice chat or my text chat or my network connectivity or like the background processes in my computer or other diagnostic data that this game was collecting, came to a conclusion that was like, okay, we need to like look at this. And remember that there's a self-policing aspect to this too. So like if enough people report you for cheating, that can also trigger it. And like, there's been people that have been flagged or shadow banned because, you know, there are people who are good at the game and people don't like to lose. And some people think the only way they can lose is if someone is cheating. And those are really, really sad people. But like, here's the thing. I've been playing like absolute dog shit this year. Like, I cannot get it together. Like, that's part of the reason I haven't streamed it, because I'm like legit bad at this year's Call of Duty. So I have no idea what put me in this state, but I had no recourse. I had nothing that I could do. And like, in reading about what happens when your account is under review, basically what I found out online is it could take anywhere from 3 business days to 2 weeks for that shit to clear. And like, I was coming up on holiday week. Like, I was excited to sit down and play some Call of Duty with the boys. But here's the thing. If I would try to party up with my friends, I'm going to drag them into my shithead lobby.
Right.
Which is full of suspected or actual cheaters, right?
It's no fun for them. Yeah.
So like, I didn't want to subject them to that. So like, I didn't even try. Like, I just like put Call of Duty down, and like every couple, like twice a day, I would just check this website. It was like check back periodically to see if your account clears. And I wasn't seeing anything. Like, nothing was like showing. It just kept saying under review. And like, I just didn't even try to play it. So like, that went on until like Wednesday of last week.
Okay.
like all of a sudden, like Wednesday night at 9:00, I checked my status and was back to a green check mark, and now the game is back to normal. Okay.
So you're back in business.
I'm back in business.
Okay.
But like, I have no idea what I did. And like,
are you going to do it again? Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I don't want it to happen again. And if I knew what it was, and like there's no way to get a human in the loop. There's no way for me to like say like, hey, what happened? Was there something in my game? Was there something with my game? Was there something with my network, my internet? Did people report me? Like, what happened? Like, what made this happen? There's no information. Like, there's no ticket. There's no like comments on like the thing. Like, it's just like under review, all of a sudden not under review. Like, shitty game experience, now the game's fine. So like, I'm scared that it's going to happen again, but I don't know how. Right? Like, I don't know what triggered it. And that's the part that really freaks me out, because I just don't want that to happen again. And then I found $5. So yeah, that was my big, like, getting banned in Call of Duty thing. And like, I had my friend Arthur, friend of the show, Arthur, like, I had him look too, because like, he and I play together a lot. And like, he checked his, and his was like completely fine. So like, it was obviously something to do with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it was not good, man. I was really kind of bummed out, because I had all that time off last week, and I was really looking forward to playing some, and it just was like,
no shooty mans for you.
No shooty mans for me. Yeah, but it was just such a shitty, like I would try to queue up for a game, and it would just sit there and it'd be like searching, because it's like trying to hit a critical mass of shitheads.
Yeah, waiting for enough shitheads. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to put shithead in our title this week.
I think you should. I support that completely. Yeah.
I don't know if it'll let it. Will it let us?
I don't think it can stop us.
Well, I don't want to get us banned from the Apple Podcast app.
Well, I mean, I already marked the podcast as having like explicit content, so it's fine. It's fine. Fine.
That indemnifies us.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Plus, we don't have enough. We don't have enough listeners to get on any radar.
Not enough people are going to report us, right?
Someone's going to go, they're like, "Oh, that podcast is so cute. They're so edgy with their 60
And like the
listeners.
and then like the one final code on this, right, is that when I was in these shithead lobbies, like people were like, you were either like a hardcore cheater, like you could tell,
Mhm.
because like they were just ungodly good, and it was like, yeah, that person, like, there's no way, like they're on their way to getting like banned. Like, whereas me, it was like, well, what did I do, right? Like, why am I in the naughty room? Why am I in purgatory? And like some people were like, be like, yep, welcome to the shadow lobby, and I'm like, this guy gets it. Like we know who we are. We know what we're
Oh,
about.
we're all dancing in hell together. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it wasn't quite hell. It was just like, it was hell adjacent.
Purgatory.
Yeah, I'm sure they're hell adjacent. There you go.
Okay.
But switching gears just ever so slightly in the video game discussion.
Okay.
Paul,
Mhm.
what's your video game of the year?
I was thinking about this a little earlier. I don't know. I guess Spider-Man 2.
I had bet you were going to say that.
Yeah. It's probably the most fun I had this year. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
What about you, Drew?
I'm here to say that I have found, as of late November, my probably not going to be usurped game of the year.
Okay.
And it is delightful.
Okay.
It's a game called Dave the Diver.
Okay. I'm aware of this game. Yes.
Okay. So the Steam Autumn sale was a couple weeks ago. And since, I wasn't playing Call of Duty, I needed something to fill the hours. So I had Dave the Diver is a game that came out. I think it was released a few months ago. It's been out for a little while. Let me see when the actual release date was. Yeah, it released over the summer back in June. And it is a game about this guy named Dave, who is a scuba diver. And your job is you dive down in the ocean and you catch fish during the day. And then at night, you run a sushi restaurant with the fish you catch. And it's delightful. It's a very cute little pixely art style. I will also tell you that there is a lot, like a whole lot more to this game than what I just described. But I have been enjoying it on my Steam Deck for a few hours of night for the past couple weeks. I think I'm almost to the end of the story. And it is absolutely phenomenal. I don't know if you tried it.
I will probably pass on this game.
Okay.
Simply because even the little happy pixel art style, I'm not a big fan of games where you spend a lot of time underwater.
That's right. We've talked about and there are sharks. Yeah. Like there are things that hurt you in the water. Yeah. I'm not going to pretend that there isn't.
Yeah, I want to play this game, but I am nervous I would play it and go, nope, I can't do that. I can't do this half of the game. Sorry.
It's really, really, really good, Paul. And yes, you do spend a lot of time underwater. But it's cozy.
Okay.
And I'm to the point in the game where I feel almost a little bit overwhelmed about all the different things that this game now is.
Okay.
Because it started out with those two things that I've told you, but in the probably 7 to 8 hours that I have invested into the game, I now have a fish farm. I now have access to seahorse races. I can craft guns. I can take pictures. I can save the ocean by doing environmental tasks. I can like fake Instagram posts for my restaurant to try to increase my clout. I can, this game has a lot of things going on with it. I know that you're the water thing is, mm-hmm. I forgot about that, mm-hmm, but mm-hmm. It currently has an overwhelmingly positive Steam review thing with 73,000 reviews. And I had heard that the game was phenomenal when it came out, but I did not buy it because I just think I didn't have time over the summer. But as a Steam Deck enjoyer, it's awesome. It's amazing. It is so incredible how much thought and detail has gone into this little game.
You know what other game I really enjoyed this year, speaking of games on water, was Dredge.
So I also picked up Dredge on the Steam sale, but I have not tried it yet.
I have played that. I did beat it. I got like both endings. Uh, I did
But
look.
you don't go underwater in that one.
You do not. You fish, but it's a little mini game, and you never see your person. You don't go under the water. You're just on a boat.
Yeah, with Lovecraftian horrors everywhere.
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So Dredge is the one I'm going to play next. I
Dredge
also
is
picked
good.
that up on sale.
Yeah, Dredge is good. I liked Dredge.
Okay. Yeah, Dave the Diver. If you or a loved one are looking for a game to play, for me this is far and away in a year where we had games like Spider-Man 2, Baldur's Gate 3, whatever other games came out this year. This one for me is 100% top of the heap. Like it's so fun and it's so cute. It is very cute. And there's dolphins.
Maybe I'll put it on my wish list and see if it comes on sale again, and I can.
I'm sure that it will when we get to the winter sale.
Yeah, and if I get it for cheap, then I won't feel so bad if I get scared and can't play it.
I mean, I don't know. It's very colorful. I mean, obviously, the deeper you dive, like it gets a little darker. But no, it's like there's not a lot that can hurt you. But yeah, I totally get where you're coming from with that.
Yeah, we'll see. It's now on my wish list.
Okay, good. I mean, that is my game of the year.
Excellent.
All right, last topic that I have for tonight.
Okay.
We are getting ready to return to Drew's Computer Corner.
Do you need more lower temps, more frames per second, Drew? What do you got going on?
So this is actually the best time of the year to build a computer.
Okay.
Because we are through all of the major processor family evolutions for the year.
Okay.
And this year there have been a lot of good and a whole lot of really mediocre adjustments in the computer like parts space. So the big announcements this year was AMD came out with new versions of their chips. And I'm an AMD fan. I'm not currently rocking an AMD processor right now because when I redid my computer the last time, they weren't at the top of the heap. But they are pretty firmly back at the top of the heap now because they make processors with a particular development focus on what they call their 3D V cache. Are you familiar?
I am not.
Okay, so taking a step back, right? When you look at processor makers like AMD, Intel, and I'll even throw Apple into this mix, they all have slightly different variations on what they believe a computer processor should be. The closest thing that we have to what is left to be a canonical processor maker is AMD, where they build a CPU and it has a certain number of cores, right? And like if you buy an AMD processor that has 8 cores, it can be quote unquote hyper-threaded to 16. And like that's just cores. They all work the same. Some perform slightly better than others just because of the way the computer dies work, but like that's what they are. Intel has gone to what they call their performance cores and efficiency cores, meaning that like you buy a CPU and it might have 16 processors, but like 8 of them are performance cores and 8 of them are economy cores or efficiency cores. And like those are designed for like lower level applications or like background processes on your computer. And like if you're playing a game or doing video rendering, like the performance cores are supposed to take over and do the work, but like your operating system has to be aware of it. And like there's a whole bunch of things where like older operating systems aren't as good as new operating systems. And like there's a whole bunch of things. Apple goes all the way in on system in a chip where like not only when you buy a CPU from Apple do you get like processors, but you also get like graphics processing units. You also get memory on board, and there's like benefits to that architecture. So like those are like the 3 main architectures that are out there today. But what all these processors have in common is they all have different levels of caching. Now, if you're not a computer person, caching is really important because it's basically how you make sure that if a processor needs to process some ones and zeros, that they're as close to the processor as possible. And that has a lot of benefits. So if you think about it, like say you have things on your hard drive, like your hard drive is your persistent store on your computer, right? Mm-hmm. Like it survives reboots. It's like, it's not volatile. So if you need to read something out of like your disk, you're not actually like, accessing it directly on your disk. What's happening is like your computer is sending an instruction through your processor to say, hey, go to the disk subsystem on my computer, read the ones and zeros that make up that image, and load it into your computer memory. Now that's like, when your computer says you have like 16 gigs of RAM or 32 gigs of RAM or whatever, like that memory is being used to like store the information about that image so I can display it on the screen. Then when I want to start manipulating that image, that's where processor cache comes in. And like, if your hard drive is the persistent store and RAM is the temporary store that is much, much faster than disk, but you have to like constantly take things in and out of it because it's a finite resource versus like your disk because it's much smaller. Processors also have their own cache. Like if all processors did was go back and forth from the processor, like the actual CPU unit in your computer that like makes logical decisions and logic circuits and all that stuff, and transistors, would just go back and forth to your memory every time, computers would be a lot slower. And in fact, like for a long time, like original computers before we had the advent of the math coprocessor, like that's how they just work. Like they would go from there to memory back and forth. And like that architecture was tried and true. But what processor makers like Intel figured out is that processors themselves can have their own levels, can have their own cache. Mm-hmm. And there's different levels of caching on processors. There are little tiny memory caches for like for each little core on your computer chip. There's larger bulks of cache for groups of processors, and then there's entire cache for the CPU. So like, you can take little subsets of memory and tuck it into that cache on your CPU and persist it there, and it's like right next to where the processor is. And like, even though all these things are moving at the speed of light, there are noticeable differences on how long it takes things to come off to your disk, from how long it takes things to get into memory, and then of course like how long it takes from things to even go from memory to your CPU. So like the less light distance you have to travel, even when we were talking about a matter of inches and like human measurement, if you were to like take a ruler and like measure your motherboard, having all those things right close to each other is what makes computers fast. So the more cache you have on your CPU, the better. Why does this matter? Well, this 3D V cache that AMD does is like the next generation of caching for CPUs. And the net result of that is that it makes things a hell of a lot faster. Now, the current reigning champ of gaming performance goes to AMD, and it doesn't even go to their highest end chip. It goes to the Ryzen 9 or Ryzen 7. I think it was Ryzen 7 7800, or maybe it was Ryzen 9 7800. So like if you look at any like best CPU chart, that is at the very, very top. And it's because it's based on this 3D V cache technology. And it's like really, really impressive, like what they've been able to do to get this performance out of this chip. Now, that is not the only 3D V cache processor that AMD makes. Like their higher end processors, like their Ryzen 9 7950X, which is their current top of the line, like consumer desktop processor, also has this. But because it has so many cores, that cache can't span them all. So like half the processor gets that cache, but the other half doesn't. So like it's very similar to what Intel's doing with like performance and efficiency cores right now, where like certain processors can be parked to take advantage of this higher end cache, and like some of it can't. But it's not kind of the same, because at the end of the day, like it's a core is a core, like it can still run the same thing. Where like the Intel cores are a little bit different, and so are the Mac cores. So that's what AMD was able to do this year. And, critically and, and technology wise, like it's been a big hit. Like people have been really impressed. Like it's performing really well. And then on top of that, like AMD finally came out with their new Threadripper chips. I'm gonna just say right now, like I've owned an AMD Threadripper system before. I still own an AMD Threadripper system. It serves a purpose in my home for like serving things. It's a rock solid system, but I'm not going to pay $4,000 for a processor in my house. Like they are ridiculously expensive.
Woo, that's expensive.
Yeah, so like Micro Center right now, they were sold out the other day. Like somebody actually bought these, which is nuts to me. I mean, I'm sure there are people who would use this. Listen, I will buy a whole bunch of shit, right? But like the new Storm Peak AMD Threadrippers, right? You can get a 24 core desktop processor for $1,500, and the motherboard start at about $1,000. So for $2,500, before any memory, before any cooling, before anything else for your computer, you're in for that much. You can buy a 32 core box processor for $2,500. They also have a 64 core version for $5,000.
Yeah, I'm on the Micro Center webpage right now.
Yeah. So there's only one of those in stock. I'm assuming they probably had one more at some other point. I'm sure some enthusiasts bought it. And
Okay.
I'm not going to lie, I thought about it too. But like, even for me, that's a little eye watering because like the price of that is not just $5,000. The price of that is $5,000 plus another $1,000 for a motherboard, plus probably another $500 to $700 in memory.
Yeah.
And I'm just, and listen, for what I do on my computer right now, and I will say that on the computer I'm on right now, the main focus is games. Like that's what I do. I play a ton of games on here. Can these play games? Absolutely. Is it going to play games with a processor that's literally a tenth of the price better? No, like it's just not. Like that's not what these are designed for. If I was doing video production or I was doing like hardcore, like computational shit on my computer, sure.
Right.
But no, there is no universe where even if I had the means and the ability right now to do it, I still don't think I could bring myself to do it.
So which one are you looking at then?
So what I'm thinking, and I'm really waffling.
Okay.
Is I'm either looking at the Ryzen 7 7800 X3D, which is a $340 processor.
Okay,
That is the current reigning champion of games right now.
Okay.
It's an 8-core, starts at 4.2 gigahertz processor. I'm also looking at the 7950X, Ryzen 9 7950X.
A little slower clock speed, but more cores. Yes.
Doesn't boost quite as high, which is why it doesn't do quite as well in the game's performance. And again, it has the X3D cache, but not every core can take advantage of it. It only covers half of the die. That's the main difference. Then but here's the thing though. AMD makes that all configurable through software. Like I don't have to like disable half the cores to still get it to work or anything. So that's what I'm debating. And like I have the components like sitting in my cart in the Micro Center website. Like I know what it costs and everything. I just don't know if I'll do it. Like my system is currently running very fine. And to go back to your original question, I'm just at the point where this computer's been exigent for about 2 years. It's about time, right? Like I didn't upgrade last year when the more recent Intel chips came out. I sort of waited for all the launch this year to get through. The Intel updates this year were like laughable. They were just like very, very small increases, and I'm not even sure they were actual increases to justify, upgrading my Intel part. But going back to AMD has been something I've been thinking about for a while, and this is probably going to get me to do it. And these do run hot, but they do not run as hot as the Intel thing. So like if you're looking at the Ryzen 9 7950 X3D part and you look at the spec, you'll notice that the thermal power is 120 watts. That's a lot. Like that's not a small amount, meaning that it consumes about 120 watts of power. And that is like a baseline number that you sort of have to keep in the back of your mind. Like I need a system that can cool 120 watts.
Okay.
But if you look at the core Intel, let me see if I can find it here. If you look at the Intel i9, let's see, what is the newest one that they have? i9 14900K, which is pretty much the same price, right? Its thermal performance is 125 watts, but that's misleading. It's actually much, much higher than that. Because when it turbo boosts, it goes it goes up. It goes way the fuck up. So these actually run a way hotter than the AMD parts. And you know me, I mean, the one thing I like more than anything is a nice, cool computer.
You do get those temps down.
Yep. So there was an even money chance, because I've been thinking about this for like the past week. There was an even money chance those parts would have been sitting on my floor when we were recording this right now. But I've been surprisingly resilient in not buying anything.
Okay, that's admirable. Yeah.
Is it?
I don't know.
Yeah. So to be continued. I mean, we will probably get into Drew's computer corner here pretty soon.
I love it.
Yep.
You should try building your own water cooling again.
I'm not doing that again. That's like, no, that part of my life is over. Like I was like, went there, got the t-shirt. Like I'm 100% out on doing that ever again. Even though I learned a lot, and I still have all my fittings because I refuse to throw them away. Like those are like I'm gonna make like a sculpture out of them. Like there's no way I'm ever getting rid of those things.
Wear
But
as a necklace. Yeah.
that'd be really fucking heavy. All right. That's all the things I have. Let's wrap this up.
Okay.
Let's wrap up with your Drew sandwich. You have follow up.
This is a really, really short topic. A few episodes ago, I went a little bit on a rant about Mac OS icons and the lazy developers who haven't updated them to match the kind of, like new kind of design style. Well, I found this app, Drew. I found this app. It's called Replaceicon. Replaceicon. There's one more C in there than I would expect.
I thought it was Spanish. I thought it was like Replacion.
Yeah. There's too many C's. And this is not an app you can try. It's basically, if this app is for you, you give them $6 or you get the fuck out of their house. And it installs like a background helper, and I'm sure it's probably doing awful things, but it's exactly the app I wanted, Drew, because if you go to this website and you scroll at the screenshots, it basically shows all of your applications, and it searches the internet for other icons, uses my beloved macosicons.com as kind of a backend, and you just go, oh, I want this icon is ugly. I want it to look like this now. And then it changes it.
Oh my God.
And what else it does is the applications where it keeps going back, like Notion, I'm looking at you, it deals with that. It just deals with it. It deals with it. It puts it back.
Wow.
It's perfect. I am so happy now, Drew. I have, on my work computer, on my personal computer, I have fixed all of my icons. The world makes sense to me now. I cannot
This is
be
brilliant.
happier.
This is low key brilliant.
Yeah.
How fast did your credit? How fast did you click purchase?
Very fast. Yeah, I was like, yeah, this is what I need. This is why I love the Mac. These applications exist, and it's just wonderful.
Wow.
It's wonderful.
So for every application.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It just shows you, like, here's a bunch of icons I found on the internet that you might like for this, and then you fix them. It's great. It's great, Drew. I am so happy. And if you don't like the icons and you got your own, you can import them, and it's thank you. This person got my $6. I love this app so much. It makes me so happy. All of my icons are now round recs, and I love it. There's even wonderful little checkbox at the bottom. You can say, hey, filter to only show the icons that are in my dock. And then there's this only show legacy icons, and it shows you all the apps that have ugly ass icons, and you can just fix them.
Wow.
I do have a couple that I need to go back and fix, but still, because I haven't found good icons for them yet. But yeah,
it has a lot of really good reviews.
It does. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. If I ever met the developer of this app, I would buy them a beer. Because it is perfect. It's perfect.
So it's just a little background helper that basically just says,
yeah.
"Oh,
yeah," and then it's like the screenshots are exactly what it is. It's just a bunch of apps, and you can pick the icon, and then it like reloads the dock, and like your icon's there, and you're happy.
I mean, Spotify's the one that always gets me. Mm-hmm. Spotify's the only thing I have in my dock right now that's not a round rec.
Yeah, and it bothers me. Well, mine is, Drew.
I don't know if it's bugging me enough that I want to spend $6.
Oh, it's not. This is not for everybody, but for people like me, and apparently there's enough people that this application exists. But it's perfect. It is perfect. 5 out of 5. 5 out of 5 stars. Yeah. Highly recommended. If this also bothers you, then there you go.
I want to go read all the reviews. This is amazing. I mean, but you know what? Like, see a need, fill a need. Like, this person just fucking owned it.
Yeah.
Wow. Good on them.
I mean, to me, this person probably also would realize, oh, those apps. I mean, literally, I think the webpage is like, hey, what does it say? Oh, hold on. Just updated to Mac OS 11 Big Sur or newer. You may have noticed that some of the apps in your dock look a bit inconsistent with the rest of the system. Yes, I did notice. I did. I noticed.
Yeah.
It bothered me for years, and now it's fixed. Mm.
Mac icons have always been so much better than any other operating system's
Just
icons.
love it. Thank you. Thank you.
And on
That's
that
it.
note,
That's it.
everybody got what they wanted out of this episode.
You're playing your shooting mans again. You might build a new computer. All of my icons are round Rex. Everything's good.
Everything's good. Let's get out of here.
Everybody go to doingtheirbest.com. You can find show notes, links, social stuff, all the stuff you need there. And hey, thanks for listening.